"Stay away from Dad's party," my brother warned. "You'll ruin everything." I stood outside my father's house, the house I grew up in, watching warm light spill from the windows. Inside, I could hear laughter, the clink of glasses, music playing softly. A celebration, my father's 60th birthday party, and I wasn't invited. My phone buzzed in my hand. Another text from Jason, my older brother. "Don't even think about showing up." I looked down at the small gift box in my other hand. Inside was a watch. An Omega, old but well maintained. My mother had bought it 17 years ago, saving up from her tutoring jobs. She'd told me just weeks before she died, "When your father turns 60, give him this. Promise me, Emily." I'd kept that promise in a drawer for 16 years. Tonight, I intended to keep it. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you're not alone. Stay with me. By the end of this story, you'll see why sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. And if this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button. My name is Emily Lynn. I'm 28 years old, a marketing consultant living in Seattle. I work with startups, helping them build their brand from the ground up. It's good work, honest work, work that's mine. But to my family, I might as well not exist. I'm the youngest of three. Jason is 35, my father's CFO. Rachel is 32, the head accountant. Both of them work for Dad's electronics import business. Both of them live within 5 miles of the family home. Both of them are considered the successful children. And me, I'm the outsider, the one who didn't fall in line. It wasn't always like this. When I was little, when Mum was still alive, I remember feeling like I belonged. I remember Sunday mornings at the kitchen table, Mum making pancakes, Dad reading the paper. Jason would complain about his math homework. Rachel would talk about her piano recital. And I would sit there, swinging my legs, feeling safe. Then Mum got sick. I was 12 when she died. 12 years old, sitting alone in my room while the adults handled funeral arrangements in hushed voices downstairs. I remember crying so hard I couldn't breathe, hoping someone would come check on me. No one did. What I remember most clearly from that day was standing at the top of the stairs, listening to my father talk to Jason in the living room. Jason was 19 then, home from college. "You have to be strong," Dad said. "I only have you and Rachel now." I was right there, right upstairs. But in that moment, I understood. I had become invisible. The years after Mum's death were lonely. Dad threw himself into work. Jason took on more responsibility at the company. Rachel followed Jason's lead in everything. And I tried to make myself small, tried not to be a burden, tried to earn my place back in the family. It never worked. When I graduated high school with honours, Dad didn't come to the ceremony. "Important client meeting," Jason told me. Rachel didn't come either. She was helping Dad prepare for the meeting. I sat in the auditorium watching other families take photos, hug their graduates, cry happy tears. I left alone, drove myself home, and found the house empty. There was no cake, no celebration, just a card on the kitchen counter. "Congratulations, Dad. College was better. I studied marketing at the University of Washington, threw myself into internships and projects. I was good at it. Really good. I helped a local coffee shop redesign their entire brand. They tripled their revenue in 6 months. I created social media campaigns for student organizations that went viral. For the first time in my life, people saw me. People valued what I could do. When I graduated with honours again, this time with a degree in marketing and communications, I thought maybe finally my family would see me too. Dad didn't come to that ceremony either. "We have a major deal closing," Jason explained over the phone. "Dad needs me here." "What about Rachel?" I asked. "She's helping too. You understand, right? Business comes first." I understood. I understood perfectly. After graduation, Dad called me into his office. I thought maybe he wanted to congratulate me, tell me he was proud. Instead, he offered me a job. "You can start in the marketing department," he said, not looking up from his computer. "Entry level, $35,000 a year." "Entry level?" I repeated. "Dad, I just graduated top of my class. I have internship experience with companies that—" "Those were student projects," he cut me off. "This is real business. You'll start at the bottom like everyone else." I looked at him, really looked at him, and realised he hadn't asked me a single question about my achievements, my plans, my dreams. He was offering me a position the way he'd hire any random applicant off the street, maybe less generously. "What if I don't want to work for the family business?" I asked. For the first time in that conversation, Dad looked directly at me. His expression was cold. "Then do whatever you want. I don't need you." Those words hit me like a physical blow. I don't need you. Jason, who'd been sitting silently in the corner, spoke up. Don't be selfish. Family supports family. This is how it works." "Selfish?" I repeated. "I'm selfish for wanting to build my own career?" "You're selfish for thinking you're too good for this company," Rachel added, appearing in the doorway. "You're not special, Emily. Out there, you'll just be another nobody." I left that office knowing I would never work for my father's company, not because I thought I was too good for it, but because I deserved to work somewhere I was wanted. I started freelancing, small projects at first, social media management for local businesses, website copy, brand consultations. I worked from my tiny apartment, lived on ramen and coffee, answered emails at 2 a.m. It was hard, it was lonely, but it was mine. Slowly, my client list grew. I helped a tech startup refine their messaging. They got funded in their next round. I redesigned a non-profit's entire web presence. Their donations increased by 200%. Word got around, but my family never asked about my work, never asked if I was okay, if I was making rent, if I needed anything. The exclusion became more obvious over time. Rachel got married 2 years ago. I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid. At the wedding, I wasn't seated at the family table. I sat with distant cousins I'd never met, people who kept asking, "So, how do you know the bride?" "I'm her sister," I said. They looked surprised. Rachel had apparently never mentioned me. Last year, my grandmother died. Dad's mother, who used to sneak me cookies when I was little, who taught me to play mahjong. I found out about her death 3 days later through a Facebook post. I drove to the funeral home immediately. Jason met me at the door. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Grandma died. I came to pay respects." "The service was yesterday. We didn't think you'd want to come." "You didn't think..." I couldn't finish the sentence. "Why wouldn't you tell me?" Jason shrugged. "You're not really part of the family anymore, Em. You made that choice." I pushed past him into the viewing room. A few relatives were still there, talking quietly. I walked to the casket, looked at Grandma's peaceful face, and felt something break inside me. Later, I found out she'd left money to Jason and Rachel in her will. My name wasn't mentioned. Thanksgiving came and went without an invitation. Christmas too, my birthday passed without even a text message. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was building a good life, that I didn't need their validation. Most days, I even believed it. But then came the invitation to Dad's 60th birthday party. It arrived in the mail 2 weeks ago, heavy cardstock, elegant calligraphy. You are cordially invited to celebrate Daniel Lynn's 60th birthday. I opened it with shaking hands, searching for my name on the guest list. It wasn't there. The invitation was from Jason Lynn and Rachel Lynn, not from Dad, and definitely not including Emily Lynn. I called Dad. He answered on the 4th ring. "Emily, what is it? I'm busy." "Dad, it's your birthday. Next week. Can I come?" Silence. Then, "Jason and Rachel have handled all the planning. If you're not on the list, there's a reason." "But I'm your daughter." "Jason and Rachel are taking care of everything. I don't need you to worry about it." "I'm not worrying about it. I want to celebrate with you." "Emily." His voice was tired, impatient. "You chose your own path. Don't make this complicated." He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like that 12-year-old girl again, invisible, unwanted, erased. Jason called an hour later. "Look, Em, just stay home, okay? This party is for Dad's business partners, important clients. It's not really a family thing." "Then why are you and Rachel hosting it?" "Because we work for the company. We understand the business. You wouldn't fit in." "Jason, he's my father." "Then you should respect his wishes. Stay away." The week dragged by. I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting back to that party, to the family I was no longer part of. 3 days before the party, Rachel showed up at my office, a small shared workspace I rented by the month. "Emily, we need to talk." I looked up from my laptop. "About what?" "Jason told me you called Dad. You need to let this go." "Let what go? Wanting to see my own father?" Rachel sighed like I was being unreasonable. "You don't understand the pressure Dad's under. This party isn't just a celebration. There are major investors coming, potential partners. Jason and I have worked really hard to make this perfect. And my presence would ruin it? You don't understand our world, Em. You've been doing your little freelance thing, which is fine. But you don't know how to talk to these people. You'd embarrass yourself. And worse, you'd embarrass Dad." "My little freelance thing?" "You know what I mean. It's not like you have a real job. No offense." I stared at my sister, at her designer suit and her condescending smile, and felt something inside me go very, very cold. "Get out of my office." "Emily, get out." She left, shaking her head like I was being childish. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mom, about the promise I'd made. I'd kept that watch safe for 16 years. Through college moves and apartment changes and relationship breakups, I'd held on to it. Mom had been specific. "Give this to your father on his 60th birthday. Tell him I never stopped believing in him. Tell him to remember the man I fell in love with." She'd said it with such hope in her eyes, even as the cancer was killing her. Like she believed Dad would somehow find his way back to being that man, the one who'd loved his wife and all 3 of his children equally. I'd made a promise to a dying woman. I couldn't break it. The morning of the party, I called my best friend, Sarah. We'd met in college and stayed close even as my family situation got worse. Sarah was a lawyer now, sharp and protective. "Don't go," she said immediately. "Em, they'll hurt you." "I'm not going for them. I'm going for my mom. This is a promise." "Then I'm coming with you." "Sarah." "Non-negotiable. You're not facing them alone." We arrived at the house at 6 o'clock. The party officially started at 7, but I wanted to give Dad the watch before guests arrived, then leave. Simple. Clean. The house looked beautiful. String lights in the trees, a catering van parked in the driveway, waiters in white shirts setting up tables on the lawn. My childhood home transformed into a venue. It felt appropriate somehow. This had stopped being my home years ago. A security guard stood at the gate. "Names?" he asked. "Emily Lynn and Sarah Chen." He checked his tablet, scrolled, frowned. "I don't see you on the list." "I'm Daniel Lynn's daughter. I'm not staying for the party. I just need to give him something." The guard looked uncertain. "Mr. Jason Lynn left specific instructions." "I'm sure he did," I said, "but this will take 5 minutes, please." Before he could respond, Jason's voice cut through the evening air. "What the hell are you doing here?" I turned to see my brother striding toward us, his face red with anger. He was dressed in an expensive suit, his hair perfectly styled. He looked like our father. "I came to give Dad his gift. Then I'll leave." "Give it to me. I'll make sure he gets it." "No." I held the box closer. "I'm giving it to him myself." "Emily, I'm warning you." "Warning me about what, Jason? I'm his daughter. I have a right." "You have no rights here." His voice rose, sharp and cutting. "You walked away from this family. You don't get to show up now and play the dutiful daughter." Sarah stepped forward. "She's just trying to give her father a birthday gift. Why are you making this difficult?" Jason turned his glare on her. "Who are you? This is family business. I'm her friend, and I'm here to make sure you treat her with basic human decency." "Basic?" Jason laughed, harsh and cold. "You want to talk about decency? How about the decency of not disrupting an important business event? How about the decency of respecting Dad's wishes?" "Did Dad say he didn't want to see me?" I asked. "Did he specifically say that?" Jason opened his mouth, closed it, then said, "He doesn't need the stress." "That's not an answer." Rachel appeared then, rushing down the front steps in a cocktail dress. "Emily, what are you doing here? Jason, I thought you told her." "I told her. She doesn't listen." "Please," Rachel said, trying for a softer tone. "Please just go. You're going to make everything awkward. Dad has investors coming, important people. This isn't the time." "When is the time?" I asked. "When would be a good time for me to exist in Dad's life?" Rachel flinched. "That's not fair." "You're right, none of this is fair, but I made a promise to Mum and I'm keeping it." "Don't bring Mum into this," Jason snapped. "You don't get to use her as an excuse." "An excuse?" "She asked me. She's been dead for 16 years. You think you're special because you're keeping some deathbed promise? You're just being dramatic." The words hit me like a slap. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I heard Dad's voice. "What's going on out here?" We all turned. Daniel Lynn stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm light from inside. He looked older than I remembered, thinner. His hair had gone completely grey. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Not angry, not happy, just tired. "Emily, what are you doing here?" I swallowed hard. "Hi, Dad. Happy birthday. I brought you something." I walked toward him, aware of Jason and Rachel watching, aware of Sarah standing protectively behind me, aware of the security guard pretending not to listen. I held out the box. "This is from Mum. She bought it for you years ago. She asked me to give it to you on your 60th birthday." Dad took the box slowly, like it might burn him. He opened it. Inside was the watch. And underneath, a small card in my mother's handwriting. I'd read it so many times I had it memorized. "My darling, happy 60th. Remember the man I fell in love with, the one who dreamed big but never forgot what mattered. I love you always. Linda." Dad's face went pale. His hands shook. His voice cracked. "This is the watch Linda was saving for. She bought it 2 months before she died. She made me promise to keep it safe until today." The silence stretched between us, thick with 16 years of absence and anger and grief and "Dad." "You can't trust her," Jason said. "She's just trying to manipulate us." "Shut up, Jason." Dad's voice was quiet but firm. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "Emily, I kept my promise." I said, that's all I came to do. I'll go now." I turned to leave, Sarah falling into step beside me. "Wait," Dad said. I paused, but didn't turn around. "Thank you," he said softly, "for keeping your promise. Your mother would be proud." But he didn't ask me to stay. He didn't say he'd been wrong, that he'd missed me, that he wanted me to be part of the family again. He just said, "Thank you." Sarah and I walked back toward the gate. My eyes burned with unshed tears, but I refused to cry. I'd done what I came to do. I'd kept my promise to Mom. That should be enough. Behind us, I heard Jason saying, "Dad, come inside. Guests will be arriving soon." The security guard opened the gate for us. Sarah touched my arm gently. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. The sound of a car engine cut me off. A sleek black Bentley rolled up to the gate, its headlights catching us in their glow. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. He was in his early 60s, wearing an immaculate Tom Ford suit, silver hair perfectly styled. He had the bearing of someone used to being the most important person in any room. He looked at me and froze. "Ms. Lynn?" I blinked, confused. "Yes?" He walked closer, his expression shifting from surprise to disbelief. "Emily Lynn, the marketing consultant?" Yes, how do you... Oh my God." He turned to look at the house, at my family standing on the front steps, then back at me. "You're Daniel's daughter?" My father stepped forward. "Marcus, what?" The man, Marcus, stared at Dad with an expression I couldn't read. "Daniel, you never told me your daughter is Emily Lynn." "I don't understand," Dad said. "How do you know Emily?" Marcus Chen turned back to me and his face broke into a smile that was equal parts amazed and impressed. "Ms. Lynn, I've been trying to meet you for months. My nephew runs Nextech Solutions. You're the consultant who saved his company." The world seemed to tilt sideways. Nextech. I'd worked with them 6 months ago, one of my biggest projects. A 3-month campaign that had taken them from struggling startup to fully funded in their next investment round. "Your nephew is David Chen?" I asked. "Yes, and he hasn't stopped talking about you since. The board wanted to offer you a full-time CMO position, but you declined. We respected that." Marcus looked back at Dad. "Daniel, we've been partners for 15 years. You told me you had 2 children working with you at the company. You never mentioned a 3rd daughter." Dad's face had gone completely white. Marcus, I didn't know Emily worked with David. Worked with? She revolutionized his entire marketing strategy. That company went from $200,000 in revenue to over $4 million in 6 months. Your daughter did that. Jason made a strangled sound. Rachel looked like she'd been punched. Marcus turned back to me. Ms. Lynn, I apologise. If I'd known you were Daniel's daughter, I would have mentioned it to him months ago. He speaks so highly of his children's accomplishments. I assumed he knew about yours. The irony was so sharp, it hurt. Dad spoke highly of his children's accomplishments, just not mine, because he'd never asked about them. Mr. Chen, I said carefully, my family and I don't really discuss my work. Clearly, Marcus looked at Dad with something that might have been disappointment. Daniel, we came here tonight to celebrate you and to discuss a potential $50 million expansion partnership. But I have to say, I'm surprised you have an incredibly talented daughter and you've never mentioned her. More cars were arriving now. Other guests, other business partners, they were getting out, walking up the driveway, noticing the tension. One man, Tom Richards, CEO of a tech company I'd done consulting work for, spotted me. Emily Lynn, what are you doing here? Another woman, Jennifer Wu, CMO of a retail corporation, broke into a smile. Oh my God, is that Emily Lynn? Daniel, you never told us your daughter was the Emily Lynn. Jason looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him. Rachel had gone completely silent, and Dad just stood there, watching his business partners and investors greet me like I was somebody important, like I was somebody worth knowing. Marcus Chen put his hand on my shoulder. Ms. Lynn, I know this is your father's party, but I really would love to discuss some potential opportunities with you. Would you consider... Mr. Chen, I interrupted gently. Thank you. But tonight isn't about me. This is my father's celebration. I just came to deliver a gift. I should go. Marcus looked at me with something like respect. You're as professional as my nephew said. All right, but please... He pulled out a business card. Call me. Have several projects that could use your expertise. I took the card. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I turned back to Dad. He was staring at me like he was seeing a stranger. In his hands, he still held the watch, the gift from Mom. Happy 60th birthday, Dad, I said quietly. I hope the watch brings you peace, the way Mom intended. I started walking toward the street, Sarah beside me. Behind me, I heard Marcus say to Dad, Daniel, I came here tonight ready to finalize our partnership. But I have to tell you, I'm questioning whether I'm working with the right member of the Lynn family. I didn't look back. Sarah and I walked to her car, parked down the street. Neither of us spoke until we were inside, doors closed, engine running. Holy shit, Sarah whispered. I started laughing, not happy laughter. Hysterical, disbelieving laughter that turned into sobs. Sarah pulled me into a hug and let me cry. I cried for the little girl who'd been invisible after her mother died. I cried for the teenager who'd graduated alone. I cried for the young woman who'd built a career no one in her family knew about or cared about. And I cried because for one brief moment back there, I'd seen something in my father's eyes. Regret, maybe, or shock, or the dawning realization that he'd missed something important. But it was too late. Years too late. When I finally stopped crying, Sarah handed me a tissue. What happens now? She asked. I wiped my eyes, looked at Marcus Chen's business card, still clutched in my hand, and thought about the life I'd built. The clients who valued me, the startups that trusted me, the work that was mine. Now, I said, I go home. I finish the campaign I'm working on. I live my life. And your family? I thought about Dad holding Mum's watch, about Jason and Rachel's faces when Marcus revealed who I was, about all those business partners looking at me with respect my own family had never shown. They made their choice a long time ago, I said. Tonight just made it public. Sarah started driving. I watched the house disappear in the side mirror, string lights twinkling in the trees, celebration continuing without me. Just like always, but this time, somehow, it felt different. This time I wasn't leaving because I'd been kicked out. I was leaving because I chose to. And that made all the difference. 3 days passed before Jason called. I was in my office reviewing a brand strategy proposal for a sustainable fashion startup when my phone buzzed. Jason's name on the screen made my stomach tighten. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello? M. His voice was different, uncertain. We need to talk. About what? About the other night, about everything. I set down my pen. I'm listening. He paused. I could hear him breathing. I wanted to apologize for how he treated you at the party. The words were right, but something in his tone felt wrong. Rehearsed, maybe, or forced. Okay, I said carefully. It was wrong of us to exclude you. Your dad's daughter. You had every right to be there. Yes, I did. Another pause. Then, so we're good? Are we good? I repeated. Jason, you didn't just exclude me from a party. You've excluded me from this family for 16 years. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you called just to see how I was doing? When's the last time any of you acknowledged I existed? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Look. His voice hardened, the brief uncertainty gone. I'm calling because I need you to do something. There it was, the real reason. What do you need? I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. Marcus Chen called Dad yesterday. He's still interested in the partnership, but he wants you involved. He wants you to consult on the marketing strategy for the expansion. And you want me to say no. I want you to understand that this is Dad's company, mine and Rachel's future. We've worked our asses off for years. You can't just waltz in and... I haven't waltzed anywhere, Jason. I showed up to give Dad a birthday present. Marcus Chen recognized me. I didn't plan that. But now he thinks you're some kind of genius and he wants to bring you into our business. Your business, not mine. I never wanted to be part of it, remember? Exactly. So tell him no. Tell him you're not interested. I leaned back in my chair, a bitter smile on my face. You know what's funny? When I actually wanted to work for the family company, Dad offered me entry level for $35,000 a year. Now that someone else values my work, suddenly you're all concerned about me being involved. This is different. How? Because Marcus Chen is threatening to back out of the partnership if you don't participate. He said Jason caught himself, but it was too late. He said what? Nothing. Forget it. Jason, what did he say? My brother exhaled sharply. He said he's questioning whether he's working with the right member of the Lin family. He implied that maybe he should be partnering with you instead of Dad. The words hung in the air between us. So you're not calling to apologize, I said slowly. You're calling because you're scared. I'm calling because this is our livelihood. Mine, Rachel's, Dad's. You have your freelance thing. You're doing fine, but this is everything to us. My freelance thing, I kept my voice level. Jason, do you have any idea what I actually do? You do marketing, social media stuff. I build brands from the ground up. I've helped 7 startups secure funding in the past 2 years. I've generated over $20 million in revenue for companies that had nothing but an idea and a dream. I've been featured in 3 industry publications, but you wouldn't know any of that because you've never once asked. That's great, Em, really, but if you're calling to ask me to turn down Marcus Chen's offer, the answer is no. What? I haven't made a decision yet, but I'm not going to decline just to make your life easier. You don't get to ignore me for years and then demand favours when it's convenient. You selfish... Jason cut himself off. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're going to destroy this family. I'm not doing anything, Jason. I'm living my life. If that threatens you, maybe that says more about you than it does about me. He hung up without another word. I sat there for a long moment, phone still in my hand, heart racing. Then I pulled up Marcus Chen's email from my inbox and stared at it. His message was straightforward. Ms. Lin, it was wonderful to meet you the other night, albeit under unusual circumstances. I'm very interested in discussing potential collaboration opportunities. Would you be available for lunch this week? I hadn't replied yet, partly because I wasn't sure what I wanted and partly because I knew that whatever I decided would have consequences. My phone rang again. This time it was Rachel. Emily, please listen to me. Rachel, I know Jason just called you. I know he was probably a jerk about it. But I'm asking you, sister to sister, please don't take Marcus Chen's offer. Why not? Because Dad is stressed enough already. His blood pressure is through the roof. Dr. Morrison warned him about his heart last month. If he loses this partnership because of some family drama, it could literally kill him. The manipulation was so obvious it made me angry. Don't put that on me. If Dad's health is that fragile, maybe he should retire. How can you be so cold? Cold? Rachel, you didn't even tell me when Grandma died. You let me find out on Facebook, but sure, I'm the cold one. That was different. How? Rachel's voice cracked. We didn't think you'd care. The words were like a punch to the gut, not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. After all these years, they genuinely believed I didn't care about my own family. I cared, I said quietly. I've always cared. You just never noticed. I have to go. I have a client meeting. I ended the call before she could respond. The rest of the day blurred by. I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting back to that party, to Marcus Chen's face when he recognized me, to Dad's expression when he realized his business partners respected me more than he did. Around 6 p.m, someone knocked on my office door. I looked up to see Sarah holding 2 takeout bags and a bottle of wine. I come bearing food and alcohol, she announced, and I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Over pad thai and cheap Merlot, I told her about Jason's call, Rachel's manipulation attempt, Marcus Chen's offer that I hadn't yet opened fully. So what do you want to do? Sarah asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to take the offer just to prove them wrong, but that's petty. It's also understandable. And part of me wants to refuse, just to be free of them forever. No ties, no obligations, no more hoping they'll finally see me. That's also understandable. I laughed weakly. You're very helpful. I'm a lawyer. I deal in possibilities, not decisions. Sarah refilled my wine glass. But I will say this, whatever you choose it for you. Not to spite them, not to please them, for you. That night, I finally opened Marcus Chen's full proposal. It wasn't just about Dad's company. He was offering me a position as Chief Marketing Officer for Chen Enterprises, his primary investment firm. Salary, $250,000 a year, plus stock options and benefits. It was more money than I'd ever made, more security than freelancing could offer, a title, a team, resources, everything I'd built on my own, but bigger, validated, official. I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt trapped. 4 days after the party, Dad showed up at my office. I was walking back from a coffee run when I saw him standing by the building entrance, looking older and more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. Emily, Dad, I stopped a few feet away, coffee getting cold in my hands. What are you doing here? Can we talk? I wanted to say no, wanted to walk past him, go upstairs, lock my door, and pretend this conversation wasn't happening. But I nodded and led him to a coffee shop across the street instead. We sat at a corner table, neither of us touching our drinks. I'm sorry, Dad said finally, for the other night, for everything. Okay. Marcus called me. He told me about his offer to you. Of course he did. Dad looked down at his hands. I didn't know you'd accomplished so much. Jason said you were doing freelance work, but I didn't realize... I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. The words came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't take them back. You're right, he met my eyes. I didn't ask. After your mother died, I threw myself into work. It was easier than dealing with the grief. Jason and Rachel were there at the company where I could see them every day. You were somewhere else, and I let that distance grow because it was easier than facing my own failures as a father. It was the most honest thing he'd said to me in years, maybe ever. When you turned down the job I offered, he continued, I was hurt. I thought you were rejecting me, rejecting the family, so I pulled back even more. I wasn't rejecting you. I was trying to find my own path. I know that now. He paused. Marcus made me realize something. He said, Daniel, you told me you had 2 children. I'm starting to understand why you only counted 2, because you only saw 2. He was right. My throat tightened. Emily, I'm asking you to come work for the company, not entry level. Director of Marketing, full decision-making authority, $150,000 salary to start. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like another manipulation. Why? I asked. Because you missed me, or because Marcus Chen is threatening to pull his partnership. Dad flinched. Both. I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, Marcus is concerned. Yes, this would help secure the deal. But I'm also asking because I was wrong. About you, about your capabilities, about everything. 16 years too late. I know. His voice broke slightly. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. I looked at my father, really looked at him, saw the grey in his hair, the lines around his eyes, the weight of years and regrets. When Mum died, I said slowly, I heard you tell Jason that you only had him and Rachel. I was 12 years old, standing at the top of the stairs. And I heard my father say he didn't have me anymore. Dad's face went white. Emily, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. Maybe not consciously, but you meant it. I became invisible that day, and I've been invisible to you ever since. That's not true, isn't it? You missed my high school graduation, my college graduation. You didn't come to the hospital when I had my appendix out, sophomore year. You forgot my birthday for the last 4 years straight. You didn't tell me when Grandma died. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving, Christmas, Rachel's wedding, your birthday party. My voice was shaking now. When exactly was I visible to you, Dad? He had no answer. You're not here because you want me back, I said. You're here because you need me. And that's not the same thing. Emily, I need to think about Marcus's offer, about yours, about everything, but I need you to understand something. I'm not making this decision to save your company or to make Jason and Rachel happy or to fix our broken family. I'm making this decision for me, just me. Dad nodded slowly. I understand. He stood to leave, then paused. Your mother would be proud of you, of what you've built. I should have said that years ago. After he left, I sat alone in that coffee shop for an hour, watching people come and go, living their normal lives. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Emily. This is David Chen, Marcus's nephew. He told me what's going on. Just wanted to say, whatever you decide, Next Tech would love to work with you again. You changed our lives. Thanks for everything. I stared at the message, feeling something shift inside me. These people, David, Marcus, Tom Richards, Jennifer Wu, all the clients I'd helped over the years, they saw me. Not because they had to, not because of blood relations, but because I'd earned it. That night, I made my decision. The next morning, I called Marcus Chen. Mr. Chen, thank you for your generous offer. I'm honoured that you thought of me. I sense a but coming, he said, sounding amused. But I have to decline the full-time position. May I ask why? I love what I do. I love working with startups, building things from scratch, having the freedom to choose my projects. A corporate position, even an amazing one like yours, would take that away. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's a mature answer, Ms. Lin. Most people your age would jump at the salary and the title. I'm not most people. No, you're certainly not, he paused. Would you be interested in consulting work instead? Project-based, your choice of involvement level? That I could do? Excellent. I'll have my assistant send over some potential projects. You choose what interests you. Another pause. And Emily, don't let your family define your worth. You've already proven yourself. Thank you, Mr. Chen. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand for a long moment. Then I called Dad. I'm declining both offers, I said when he answered. Yours and Marcus Chen's. Emily, let me finish. I'm not taking your director position because I don't want to work for your company. I never did. That's not about you or Jason or Rachel. It's about me wanting to build my own career, my own way. I see. And I'm not taking Marcus's full-time offer for the same reason. But I will do project-based consulting work for Chen Enterprises, which means I'll probably be involved in some capacity with your partnership deal if Marcus still wants that. Dad exhaled slowly. He'll want it. He's very impressed with you. Good. But Dad, this doesn't fix things between us. You can't undo 16 years of absence with one conversation and a job offer. I know. I don't know if we can ever fix this. I don't know if I want to try. Because every time I let myself hope, every time I think maybe this time will be different, you prove me wrong, and I'm tired. I'm so tired of hoping. What can I do? His voice was raw. Tell me what to do. I can't tell you that. You have to figure it out yourself. And even if you do, even if you try, I might not be able to forgive you. I might not want to. The line went quiet. I understand, Dad said finally, but I'm going to try anyway. Not because I expect forgiveness, but because you deserve better than what I gave you. We hung up without saying goodbye. Over the next week, my life shifted in subtle ways. Jason stopped calling. Rachel sent one last text. I hope you're happy, and then silence. But other calls came. Marcus Chen sent me 3 potential projects. I chose one, a brand repositioning for one of his tech investments. Tom Richards formally contracted me for his company's Q4 campaign. Jennifer Wu recommended me to 2 other CMOs. My calendar filled up. My bank account grew. My reputation spread. I was busier than I'd ever been, and for the first time in my life, every bit of success I achieved was mine. Not because of my last name, not despite my last name, just mine. 2 weeks after Dad's party, Sarah and I went out for dinner to celebrate my birthday, which my family, predictably, had forgotten again. 29, Sarah said, raising her glass. How does it feel? Honestly, pretty good, and I meant it. Better than 28, at least. That's not a high bar. 28 sucked for you. Fair point. We clinked glasses and drank. Any regrets? Sarah asked. About turning down the offers? I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I said finally. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. Not trying to prove anything, not trying to earn love, not trying to be good enough, just choosing what I actually want. And what do you want? This, I gestured around us. Freedom, work I love, friends who actually give a damn, a life that's mine. What about your family? I was quiet for a moment. I don't know. Dad's been sending texts, nothing big, just good morning, or saw this article, thought of you, or random stuff. Jason and Rachel have been radio silent. That's probably for the best. Yeah. I turned my wine glass slowly. The thing is, I don't hate them. I'm not even that angry anymore. I'm just done. Done hoping they'll change. Done waiting for them to see me. Done giving them the power to hurt me. That's growth, Sarah said softly. Or self-preservation. Maybe both? 6 months later, my consulting firm, Lynn Strategies, had 5 employees and more clients than we could handle. I'd been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. I'd given a TEDx talk about building authentic brands in a digital age. I'd bought a small house with a yard and a view of Puget Sound. I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Dad still texted occasionally. I responded sometimes. Short, polite messages that never went deeper than surface level. He'd send articles about marketing trends. I'd send back a thumbs up emoji. He'd mention the weather. I'd agree it was nice. It wasn't a relationship. It was 2 people being cordial. But it was more than we'd had before, and I didn't push for more. Jason and Rachel never reached out. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jason had been promoted to CEO when Dad stepped back from day-to-day operations. Rachel was now CFO. The company was doing well, thanks in part to the Chen partnership. I felt nothing hearing that news. Not satisfaction, not resentment, just nothing. One day, Marcus Chen invited me to lunch at an upscale restaurant downtown. "I wanted to thank you personally," he said after we'd ordered. "The brand strategy you developed for our tech division exceeded every expectation. Revenue is up 40% from projections. I'm glad it worked out. More than worked out. Emily, you've done more for our portfolio in 6 months than our previous marketing director did in 3 years. Your previous director was working within constraints. I had the freedom to innovate." Marcus smiled. "Always humble. That's rare." He leaned back in his chair. "I have to ask, how are things with your father?" "Complicated." "That's not a surprise." He paused. "I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to anyway. Daniel comes to our monthly board meetings. Every time he mentions something you've accomplished, an article you wrote, a client you landed, a talk you gave. He doesn't say much, but I can tell he's proud of you." The words hit me harder than I expected. He has a funny way of showing it. Yes, he does, but he's trying. I don't know if that matters to you, if it's too little too late. But I thought you should know. I didn't know what to say to that. "Anyway," Marcus continued, "I didn't invite you here to talk about your father. I have a proposition. A real estate development company in Portland needs a complete rebrand. It's a 3-month project, significant budget, total creative control. Interested?" I took the project. And 3 more after that. My life moved forward. Without my family, without the weight of their expectations or disappointments, I dated, I travelled, I built something I was proud of. And sometimes, late at night, I'd look at the photo Dad had sent me, the one of our whole family when Mum was alive. When I was 5, when everything was still okay. I'd look at that little girl, swinging her legs at the breakfast table, feeling safe and loved and seen, and I'd think, "I'm sorry I couldn't save you from what was coming. But I'm going to make sure you're proud of who we became." One night, about 8 months after Dad's party, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find Dad standing there, holding a bakery box. "I remembered this time," he said quietly. "Your birthday. I remembered." I stared at him, then at the box, from the bakery Mum used to take me to when I was little, the one that made lemon lavender cake, my favourite. "Can I come in?" he asked. I almost said no, almost closed the door, kept my boundaries firm, protected the peace I'd built. But something in his eyes stopped me, not hope exactly, something more like resignation, like he knew I might refuse, but he'd come anyway. I stepped back and let him in. We sat at my kitchen table. I made tea. Dad opened the bakery box, revealing a small, perfect lemon lavender cake with Happy 29th Emily written in delicate script. "I don't expect forgiveness," Dad said. "I don't expect anything. But I wanted you to know that I remembered, that I'm trying, that I see you now, even if it's too late." I looked at the cake, at this man who'd failed me so profoundly, who was sitting in my kitchen trying to make amends with dessert and apologies. "It is too late," I said, "to fix everything, to go back, to be a normal family." He nodded, pain clear on his face. "But," I continued slowly, "maybe it's not too late for something different, something smaller. Not father and daughter the way it should have been, but 2 people trying to figure out how to be in each other's lives." "I'd like that," he said softly. "I'm not promising anything. I'm not promising I'll ever fully forgive you, or that we'll be close, or that I'll come to family dinners or any of that. I'm willing to try something on my terms. Your terms, absolutely. We ate cake in silence. It was awkward and stilted and nothing like a real reconciliation. But it was something. Before he left, Dad paused at the door. Your mother would be so proud of you, not just for your success, but for your strength, for not letting us break you. She'd be disappointed in you, I said, not cruelly, just honestly. I know. He pulled something from his pocket, the watch I'd given him at his party. I wear this every day to remind myself of the man she believed I could be, the man I'm still trying to become. After he left, I sat alone in my house, in the life I'd built, surrounded by evidence of my success and my independence. I thought about that 12-year-old girl standing at the top of the stairs, hearing her father say he only had 2 children. I thought about the young woman graduating alone, celebrating alone, grieving alone. I thought about showing up at that party, keeping a promise to a dead woman, expecting nothing and receiving even less. And then I thought about Marcus Chen's face when he recognized me. About all those business partners looking at me with respect. About David's text saying I'd changed his life. About building something that was entirely, completely mine. We did it, I whispered to that little girl in the photo. Not the way we wanted, not the way we dreamed, but we survived. We built something beautiful, and we did it ourselves. The next morning, I woke up to 3 texts. One from Sarah, brunch Sunday. One from Marcus Chen, new project opportunity, call when you can. And one from Dad, thank you for the tea, and for the chance. Dad. I responded to Sarah first, yes, your place or mine. Then Marcus, we'll call this afternoon. And finally, after a long moment, to Dad, you're welcome. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no tears and apologies that fixed everything, no family photo with everyone smiling. But it was honest. It was real. And it was enough. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong in your own family? Have you ever had to choose between hoping they'd change and accepting they never would? I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Build your own life. Find people who see you, value you, celebrate you, not because they have to, but because they want to. Blood doesn't make a family. Love does. Respect does. Showing up consistently, not just when it's convenient. My family made their choice years ago. And eventually I made mine. I chose me. And for the first time in 16 years, I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to the people who mattered, and most importantly, not to myself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt unseen or unheard or unvalued, know that you're not alone. Know that you deserve better. Know that it's okay to choose yourself. And if you're still waiting for someone to see you, maybe it's time to see yourself instead. To build a life so bright, so full, so undeniably yours that their blindness doesn't matter anymore. You're worth more than their neglect. You always were.